It was a cold, wet, dreary spring afternoon in the village of Little Cressingham. The Muggle residents of the small town, tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the big city, were happily taking their tea in their comfortable parlors. Parents were calling out to their children to come inside, as dark clouds overhead began to roll in. The town's postman was rushing to get his final deliveries done for the day, riding his bike at top speed down Fairstead Lane. As he pulled into his final stop, the old St. Andrew's Church, he caught a flicker of lightning illuminating the sky. Curiously, for a moment, he saw the outline of a small cottage atop the nearby hill. It was curious in the sense that he had never seen a cottage there before, anyway. Rubbing his glasses with his trusty kerchief, he looked back at the hill, and it was gone. It is on that hill that our story begins. For you see, wizards and witches alike could see the thatched roof of the home overlooking Little Cressingham. In fact, if they cared to, they could also spy the young witches and wizards currently at play in the garden just behind the house. What are the five of you playing?
Caleb's jumped on the stone wall and is laughing to himself as he leaps from stone to stone.
Skylar's pretending that they're a hippogriff and they're just galloping and pretending to fly around the backyard.
I think Leo is probably just playing with some grass, just not aware of what's around him.
Freya is also playing with grass with Leo.
Allison has a stick and is drawing pictures in the dirt.
What kind of pictures?
Like magical creatures that aren't real, like dragons.
Wait, but dragons are real.
But, okay, fine.
Ooh,
Dragons.
Allison, draw me. I'm an amazing hippogriff.
So Allison draws the hippogriff next to the dragon so that they're friends.
And my wings! They're twice the size. Twice as big as those ones.
Oh, okay, Allison says, and adds really big wings to Skylar's drawing.
Skylar gallops off.
Literally gallops. How does Skylar do that?
Well, have you ever seen a child pretend to be a horse?
I actually have.
Okay.
Please describe
So
it.
you kind of just you hold your hands in front of you, hoofs, and then you kind of run at a gallop with your knees kind of coming up, and trot, kind of a trot kind of gallop. And also Skylar's shaking their pretend mane.
Freya is ripping a bunch of the grass out of the ground and putting it in a pile.
Now, is there an objective to the grass ripping, or just
No, it just has
at
it just has a nice hand feel.
Yeah, that's an important thing for 5-year-olds.
I think maybe that bothers Leo, and he's taking grass out of her pile and putting it back where she ripped it out.
You know that's not going to fix it, right? Also, it's more fun to just rip it out.
I know. And he just keeps doing
Allison reaches over and takes some of the grass and makes it to be the mane of Skylar's hippogriff.
Oh yeah, that looks so good. And Skylar proceeds to eat the grass like a real hippogriff.
How much grass does Skylar eat?
Skylar's just a bite full of grass for effect, and then I spit it out because it doesn't actually taste that good.
Allison looks on a bit mortified that her friend just ate grass.
Yeah, I think Leo is also wait, what? Why did you eat it?
Someone call the ministry! Hippogriff on the loose!
Never! You'll never catch me!
Caleb's going to call out, Hippogriff hunt! And try to get the others involved in chasing down Skylar.
Ah! Skylar starts to run!
Allison jumps up and runs after Skylar with her stick.
So, as the race begins, suddenly in the distance, you start to hear rolling thunder. And just a moment later, Ms. Ashglen walks out of the house, yelling, "Children! Children! Come on inside, quickly, before it starts raining!"
Oh, but I like the rain.
Well, I'm sure that you like the rain, but your parents will not appreciate it if you are wet and covered in mud.
Onwards! Skylar gallops towards the door.
Allison runs after Skylar, waving her stick in the air.
Caleb's also going to follow Skylar, resisting the urge to tackle them into the mud.
Leo runs to catch up, but deliberately steps in as much mud as possible.
Freya grabs like a handful of the grass that she was ripping up to like rip up further in the house to play with it, and reluctantly follows everyone else inside.
As you enter, the interior of the house is small, yet warm and inviting. The first floor of the cottage has 2 rooms. First, there is a homey, well-lived-in looking kitchen. Pots and pans hang from the ceiling. A large refrigerator sits in the corner, covered in the adorable drawings of many different children. A Swedish snort-snout dragon with tiny arms and legs drawn in crayon is signed by one Jeremy, age 5, with the R written in the wrong direction. The other room, the playroom, is meticulously taken care of. A large, fluffy, bright blue carpet sits in the center of the room next to an old rocking chair. In the corner, there's a number of toys and stuffed animals neatly stacked and put away into cubbies. There are 6 large pillows laid out in the circle around the rocking chair. Ms. Cordelia Ashglen, one mother of our own Skyler Ashglen, is walking over to the playroom, and she says, Children, come, sit.
Allison moves to take a seat on one of the cushions. Not the closest one, but not the most farthest away one.
Freya sits up close, her legs crossed Indian style.
Leo walks over to sit and realizes his shoes are still on and they're all muddy, and he takes them off and just leaves them in the middle of the room and keeps walking and sits down.
Skylar plops down on a pillow.
Caleb also plops down on the pillow and fidgets from side to side.
Miss Ashglen, she grabs a couple things from the corner of the room. She has a stack of old but very comfy blankets, and she walks around the circle handing one to each of you. She actually reaches over and gives Skylar's hair a little bit of a tussle.
Mom,
and winks at them.
my puffskins stuffy?
Oh, yes. Oh, of course, dear. She reaches over and grabs a stuffed animal shaped like a puffskin and hands it to Skylar. And then she sits down in the old rocking chair and says, All right, now, children, it's time for story time and then your nap. And she motions to everyone to either sit or lay down. And she sits down in the chair and she holds up a book. It's an old looking book. And the title is The Tales of Beetle the Bard. And she says, okay, children, now let's start. All right. Well, children, this is a very special story. It's the story of The Wizard and the Hopping Pot. And she folds open the book and starts reading.
What's a hopping pot?
Oh, can't we
No.
read Babbity Rabbity and our cackling stump instead?
I don't
No,
want
we
a
read-
nap.
Children, it's story time, and it's time to listen. Okay, we listened to Babbity Rabbity yesterday. Today we're gonna read The Wizard and the Hopping Pot. Okay, okay. And she turns back to the book. There once was a kindly old wizard who used his magic generously and wisely for the benefit of his neighbors. Rather than reveal the true source of his power, he pretended that his potions, charms, and antidotes sprang ready-made from the little cauldron he called his lucky cooking pot. From miles around, people came to him with their troubles, and the wizard was pleased to give his pot a stir and put things right. This well-beloved wizard lived to a goodly age, then died, leaving all his chattels to his only son. The son was a very different disposition to his gentle father. Those who could not work magic were, to the son's mind, worthless, and he often quarreled with his father's habit of dispensing magical aid to their neighbors. Upon the father's death, the son found hidden inside the old cooking pot a small package bearing his name. He opened it, hoping for gold, but found instead a soft, thick slipper, much too small to wear, and with no pair. A fragment of parchment within the slipper bore the words, "In the fond hope, my son, that you will never need it." And so at this, she looks up and sees the 5 of you fast asleep. And very, very slowly and quietly, she closes the tome and puts it down on the ground next to the rocking chair and starts herself to rock back and forth a little bit more and slowly drift off to sleep. Suddenly, there's a loud bolt of lightning and thunder, and it wakes who up? Who wakes up first?
Caleb leaps to his feet, ready for action, and always nervous. Ha ha!
Yeah, so it seems like the storm has gotten pretty heavy. The rain is now pounding on the roof, and it's sort of unusual because normally Ms. Ashglen would wake you guys up from your nap, and you would have a snack before you went home. But surprisingly, it's dark out, and the rocking chair is empty. What do you do?
Allison awakes at Caleb's scream and starts looking around and is like now clutching the stick that she carried from outside.
I think none of this woke up Leo, but he snored so loud that he woke himself up, and then now he's noticed all the commotion.
Freya woke up specifically because of Leo's snoring.
Skylar's a deep sleeper, so they're still sleeping.
Allison reaches over and like prods Skylar with her stick to wake her up.
Mom? Skylar rubs their eyes.
Where's Mrs. Ashglen?
Yeah, Skylar, where's your mom?
I think at this point Leo just starts shouting, "Mrs. Ashglen!
Okay.
Miss Ashglen!"
That definitely wakes Skylar up. Why are you yelling?
Skylar, where's your mom? It's thundering.
Oh, she's probably in her room. Let me
Miss
go get her.
Ashglen!
Hey, stop yelling. It hurts my ears. Skylar gets up, holds their puff skin close to their chest, and goes to their mom's room. Mom?
You hear no response.
Maybe she's outside?
Is there anywhere in the house that you think that she would be, Skylar?
No. Usually she's in her room or in the kitchen.
Is there anywhere you haven't checked?
Maybe she just went to the store because we didn't have any chocolate.
We're out of chocolate? Oh my gosh. I run to the kitchen and I check the special chocolate drawer. It's got still half a pound of chocolate left in it. Man, you scared me, Allison. Good one.
Freya,
Yes.
why don't you roll notice something?
All right. That's 2d4, right?
It's D6.
Sorry, d6.
2D6. And then add plus mind.
All right. That is a 8.
Okay. No, so that is a mixed success. So that means with a 7 to 9 on a notice something roll, you get to ask one question.
Oh, okay. So is there a place in the house that we haven't checked yet?
So there is one room you haven't checked. Interestingly enough, you've only not checked it because you're not allowed. In the stairwell, from leading up from the first floor to the second, there's actually a cupboard under the stairs. And it's always been locked. Always been locked. And you've never been allowed in there before.
All right. What about that door that we're not allowed to open? Do you think that she could be in there?
Maybe. I don't even know what's behind that door.
Maybe your mom's in there and just lost track of time.
Or maybe she fell.
Oh, yeah. Then she would definitely need our help.
Skylar runs to the door and cautiously knocks at it first.
There is no answer.
Allison, I'm scared.
I am too. Allison kind of stutters a little bit, but she's like clutching her stick in front of her like it will protect her.
Okay. Skylar turns the doorknob.
It is unlocked.
I'm gonna slowly open the door. Mom? And peek in.
So as you opened the door, it actually looks like a stairwell down into a basement. It's very dark. Although at the very bottom of the stairs, you can see almost like a faint glowing green light.
Guys, It looks really scary and dark. It's like stairs going down.
Caleb also moves behind Skylar to look down into the darkness and says, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Do you have like a flashlight, I guess?
What's a flashlight?
There's a candle in the kitchen! I run to the kitchen and I find the candle holder. I open a drawer and I stick a thick white candle in the candle holder. But I don't know how to light one. I'm gonna run back. Here, I give my candle to Caleb.
Oh, Incendia, he says and waves the candle.
Wait, no, like, not like that. Like, it's probably like, okay, hold on. Candelo Lido.
Ugh, boys. Allison goes off to the kitchen to find a box of matches.
Caleb's gonna stare at the end of the candle with all of his might and will it to burst into flames.
You really want to do magic, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. We're going to roll magic, but you're going to take a big penalty because you're 5 years old.
Well, I rolled a 10, and I have a +2 magic on my character sheet.
Okay, so I was going to give you -5. So at 12 minus 5 is 7, which is the best possible score you could have gotten, it is a mixed success. So with a mixed success, the spell succeeds, but there are side effects. So I'm actually going to let you choose the side effects. You're going to choose 2 of these side effects. You have these options. One of the other players takes a condition from a partial misfire. The spell has a diminished effect. Someone or something is alerted to the casting of the spell, or this one doesn't make any sense because you don't have a wand. Your wand is thrown from your hands and lands nearby.
I think I'd like someone or something to become alerted to the spell.
What? Who? Who is alerted to the casting of the spell?
The Ministry of Magic.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, because he's got the trace on him. Right?
Yeah, but the trace is really right. Like the trace is ignored for wizarding households. Like it is established that they can only tell that a spell was cast in an area. They can't tell who cast it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's how the Harry and
Okay. What
Dobby.
about a malign presence?
What about a cat outside?
A cat outside.
Yeah, like pets. What if they get spooked and so detect the presence?
Okay, yeah. You
Just thrown
hear
out
the
ideas.
sound. You hear the sound of a cat that's sitting on the nearby the stone wall that you guys were playing on earlier. You hear the sound of a cat just freaking out, and it just bolts off. So that's one of your side effects. What is the other side effect you're going to take?
The candle bursts into flames so dramatically that it melts wax all over Caleb's hand and he drops it.
Oh no!
What was that? What did you just do?
I incendiated it! I think. Caleb's gonna try to pick it up, but it's hot.
It is hot. And it's melted. And I don't think you can because now this candle is ruined.
It's no longer a candle. It is now wax.
Yeah, it's just kind of floor wax now.
Oh my gosh. My mom's gonna be so mad at us for playing with fire.
I think Leo is starting to freak out about how much we are not going down there, and he's just Leo's just gonna start running down the stairs in the darkness.
Well,
Jesus.
so as you very quickly descend the stairs, you hear some really odd, unusual noises. And when you get to the bottom, you still can't really see very well, but your eyes do start to adjust to the darkness, partially because it's not totally pitch black. There's a dim green glow that kind of lets you start to make out the shapes of the various things in the room. As you sort of get more accustomed to that, it looks like it's almost like you're in a laboratory. There's whirring gears, some creepy looking potions that are in beakers of various shapes and sizes. There's a cauldron on one table that is actively bubbling. And the light, that faint green light is coming from the far end of the basement.
Leo, we have to stick together! Caleb's gonna run down the stairs after him.
Yeah, Freya's gonna follow as well.
I think Leo immediately regretted his decision and remembered he was afraid of the dark and started darting back up the stairs and ran into them.
Oh no, okay. Yeah, so in that case, why don't you roll struggle?
Alright, that's a body roll, right? Okay.
It's plus body.
That's a 6 minus 2. That's a 4.
Okay, so on a failure, you get hurt. So
I'm pretty sure I fall down the stairs.
Okay, yeah, you fall down the stairs, and why don't we say you bruise your elbow?
Alright. Ow! What's happening?
Why are you just running everywhere?
I don't know. You guys were doing stuff with candles. She's missing. I don't know. I'm starting to freak out.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, Leo. Caleb's gonna kneel down next to him and see if he's okay.
I'm fine.
Freya gets distracted by all of the things in this area and just wanders off looking at the green light.
Where are we?
Allison, can we hold hands and go down together?
Yeah, we can go down together.
Okay, I'll go first, but you have to stick really close to me.
We can go one stair at a time.
Good idea.
We're creeping down the stairs.
Very slowly.
Scooby-Doo style.
Yeah.
Caleb looks around the room and says, I don't think we should be down here.
Skyler joins you guys at the base.
Skyler, where's your mom?
I don't think she's down here, guys.
Maybe we should just go.
Skylar's really curious because they've never been down here before after years of not being allowed to, so I'm gonna walk around.
So as you approach the back of the room, you actually find yourself in front of what looks like an old desk. Almost like a workbench that has a number of drawers. And the top drawer is just slightly open. And it seems like the source of the green light is coming from that drawer.
What is that green light? I think Leo is sort of starting to be captivated by it and starts wandering over to it.
Wait! It could be cursed. My mom told me about this. Sometimes, when you don't understand magic, you have to be careful because it could be cursed. Give me your stick.
Allison holds out the stick to Skylar at the furthest possible range so she doesn't have to get any closer to the green light.
Skylar grabs the stick. Okay, I'm going to not touch it. That's what my mom said. Don't touch the thing. And you guys, can you just stay really close behind me? Take steps towards the faint glowing green light. Skylar reaches out with the stick.
Yeah, and so as you do, the desk drawer kind of pops further open. And you see a bunch of weird looking instruments. You're 5, so you don't really know what they are, but you can tell they're some kind of science-y or something related to arithmancy, perhaps, or some arcane magical artifacts that you just aren't familiar with. But what you do notice is on the top of the pile, you see an opaque glass orb. It looks like it's been spun by hand, and it's glowing faintly.
Skylar grasps the stick with both of their hands and pokes the orb.
Nothing happens.
Maybe it's like a divination orb.
What's divination?
Divination? Isn't that a country?
It's a type of magic. Skylar opens the drawer and peeks inside. Skylar lifts up the orb.
When you do that, it glows brighter.
Oh no.
Is that the source of the dim green light?
Yes, it is. And now that you're holding it, it is not a dim green light. It is a bright green light that's getting brighter and brighter.
No. I put it down.
As you do that, there is a flash of lightning. I want you to make a body roll.
2.
Ooh, okay, well, so with a 2, you fumble the ball and drop it on the ground. And when you do that, the visage of an old wizard in very elaborate robes, he's got his hands wide, sort of appears in the smoke that is kind of like funneled out of the orb as it cracked. And you see him, and like he's got this wide look in his eyes. But he just starts speaking in this booming voice. 5 friends, bound by wisdom, wit, and friendship, will face a great... And then just as the guy started talking, you hear a scream from upstairs, and then someone yell, "No! Don't!" And then you hear it crack, and there's a huge cacophony of sounds suddenly engulfing your ears. The room starts to shake, and it almost feels like everything around you is falling from the ceiling and crashing down. And then everything fades to black. So, here we are. I think what's important here is that this podcast exists to answer the question, why can't we be wizards? I don't know about you guys, but when I was 11 years old, on my 11th birthday, and I did not receive a letter of some kind from a wizarding institution, was I devastated? Yes, I was.
Yes.
I was very much devastated.
Supreme disappointment.
Yeah, no, man, like I just wanted to be a wizard so bad. So we're here to play this game. Today we're going to be starting a new game based on the Witchcraft and Wizardry game, which is a tabletop role-playing game built specifically for the Wizarding World, Harry Potter universe. It was created by the folks over at Tablestory, so huge shout out to those folks. I think they created a really cool system, and we're going to try it out. It's based on the Powered by the Apocalypse framework. So this is the mechanics are pretty simple. It's basically a 2d6 success, failure, mixed success, complete success kind of game. The rules are pretty simple, and most of them are around the relationships that you build at school. So the 5 players who are on this podcast will be playing their own interpretations of how they wish they really went to Hogwarts. I am the game master. My name is Kevin Rizza, and I will be hopefully doing a good job of guiding everybody through an interesting story about life at Hogwarts. So why don't we meet all of our players? First, let's talk to Mitchell. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mitchell Cassidy, and I will be playing Caleb Mirkwood. He's a determined young man who is set to study the most advanced spells that he can at Hogwarts. He feels a little insecure in his life, but he's happy to be able to see his friends again and hopes that his life at Hogwarts will be better than his life outside of school. So he's got an awkward yet tall preteen body, And he's got sandy blonde hair with a square jaw, but he's a skinny kid with tired eyes.
So in this game, basically, there's this concept of positive and negative traits, right? And so a lot of the game and the mechanics around the game are about who these characters are as they grow up through their years at Hogwarts. And so each player has 5 positive traits and 5 negative traits. And throughout the course of leveling up, they can change those traits over time. So you have 2 locked traits, which are harder to change. Those are more like your core personality traits, both positive and negative. And then you have 3 more traits, which are sort of more open-ended, kind of define who you are, but are not as strictly things that can't change about you. So tell us, what are Caleb's traits?
Well, I've locked in that he's determined and clever, but he's also skeptical and secretive. In fact, my fun fact about Caleb is that he has a dark secret when he starts this game. And my fun fact about myself is that I read all of Book 7 the first day it came out while being backstage performing Shakespeare.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, really? Interesting. What Shakespeare?
It was As You Like It, and we were all in a competition to see who could read it the fastest to figure out what had happened so we could all talk about it.
Interesting.
That's great.
That's cool. Okay, let's see. Who's next? Lauren, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Lauren Kelly, and I'm going to be playing Allison Caller. She is always particularly well dressed with blonde strawberry hair and ears that stick out a bit too much for her liking. But otherwise, her positive traits are creative and caring, but she's also smart, hardworking, and observant. However, she can be pretty insecure, anxious, quiet, passive, and soft. So growing up in a half muggle, half wizarding family with one father being a muggle and one father being a wizard, Allison sort of feels like she doesn't fit in with either world, even though she has ties to both. So a fun fact about me is that I like to go backpacking, and I'm going to be planning a trip this summer to Alaska, so that's going to be exciting. A fun fact about Allison is that she loves winter, particularly snowball fights between her sibling and her 2 fathers.
Oh, she has a sibling.
Yes, Allison Caller has an adopted sibling, Skyler Ashglen.
Right. So Skyler is actually another one of our players. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlotte Cassidy. I'm going to be playing Skyler Ashglen. I have been adopted into Allison's family very nicely. They have untidy but beautiful natural hair, dark brown eyes, and they're petite. So Skyler was adopted at a young age because of an accident that happened. And something about me is when I read the 7th book, Mitchell, you just made me remember. I read it in France when it didn't come out yet. And so I was the only person with the copy in English. And I remember putting Post-its when someone would die, and my French cousin was freaking out because I kept putting more Post-its in the book. And he was like, but I can't read in English. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait.
Oh, God.
Put a bunch of extra Post-its in just to mess with them.
Oh my gosh, there are already so many. I didn't even have to.
Okay, so next player, Allie. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Allie Turley, and I'm going to be playing Freya Yaxley, who is a very ambitious, inquisitive young girl. She has long blonde hair and is kind of lanky and awkward, but has these really piercing gray eyes. Some of the good qualities I chose for her is, again, ambitious, but also methodical. She likes to read a lot, but at the same time, she's also very skeptical of other people, and she also can be pretty insecure. A fun fact about me is that my favorite animal is cows. I love cows. I think they are kind of like dogs. They have like very dog-like personalities. And a fun fact about Freya is that she keeps a dream journal and often thinks that they would make good fictional stories if she gets better at writing.
Well, I'm sorry. So you're saying that Freya writes down her dreams?
Yeah.
And says, "This is cool. I'm gonna publish this someday."
Yeah, as 11-year-olds do.
I'll make it into a podcast.
Yeah, there you
A
go.
wizard podcast.
A wizard podcast. One of the reasons I had this trait specifically for her is that I did something similar as a kid. Not with dreams, but I always had these random ideas for stories, and I would write them out, and they sounded terrible.
Tell me the best one.
Oh, no.
Tell me the best one right now.
I really want to
No,
know
you
this.
have to.
No, I once wrote this story about this guy. So, okay. It was about a little girl who was about my age who had a very similar name to me. And it was about this really rich guy who kidnapped her and was just was the Monopoly man. And there wasn't really a lot of substance to the story besides that.
So what you're saying is you wrote 50 Shades of Grey as
Oh no!
No, it was more like Monopoly the horror
11.
story.
That is problematic.
Wait, Allie, did you really have a dream about the Monopoly man?
Yeah, I think I was scared of him as a kid.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Some people are afraid of spiders. Some people are afraid of the dark. And you're afraid of the Monopoly man. No, I get it. The hat. It's creepy as hell.
It was more the monocle.
Or was it the thimble?
No,
just always so
it
happy.
was the guy with the monocle.
That's insane. All right, let's move on.
Is this going to be a podcast?
Yeah, I think.
So,
yeah, well,
last but certainly not least, Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
hello. My name is Mike Turley. I'm going to be playing Leopold Featherwick, who likes to be called Leo. He grew up with uptight parents who kind of expected a lot of him academically, and so he's kind of a little defiant of that. He's kind of medium height, messy brown hair with a cowlick in it. They're always trying to comb it and make him prim and proper, and it never quite works. So Leo is a very empathetic and smart person, but he's also very aloof, anxious, and clumsy. He has very good intentions, but he's not always paying attention. I think would be a good way to describe him. So a fun fact about me, I guess if we're talking about stories around the Harry Potter books, when the sixth book came out, my local bookstore, West Winds in Duxbury, which has since gone out of business. If you're listening, please support your local bookstores. I miss them. They blocked off the whole block for a block party for this book release, and we had a huge Quidditch match that we did in the middle of the street, and it was amazing. And I remember that day, the bookstore gave us one of the boxes that they had that said, do not open before, X date. It was the release date, and it had Harry Potter written all over it, and I carried that box with me forever and used it to move and stuff for a long time.
So at the Quidditch game, what position did you play?
I think I was a beater.
Is that your natural position? Or?
I don't think so. I didn't want to hit anyone with a bat. It was the one that was open.
That's not how Quidditch
supposed
works.
to
Well,
hit the
I mean, it's
bludgeon.
how it happens in the book sometimes. It's not the rules.
No, that's a foul, dude.
Yeah, I know. It happens. People foul all the time in the books.
That's fair, yeah.
It's like hockey. You just take a penalty and
Yeah,
move on.
but we
No, in hockey, fighting is basically encouraged.
yeah, it is. Oh man, yeah. I mean, we were just running around with broomsticks under our legs, throwing into hoops that were basically just stuck into cement in buckets. It was very, very, very silly.
So, on that note, we fade into a moderately sized bedroom. It's obviously a young child's room. There are some toys strewn about. There's also a large leather trunk in the corner that has been upturned on its side. Next to it, there are various magical items. Spellbooks, quills, ink bottles, a gobstones set. In the corner of the room, on the other side, there's a twin bed that is currently covered in a shimmering blue bedspread. On the actual bedspread itself, there's two dueling wizards who are like actually dodging and leaping out of the way, throwing spell after spell towards each other. They're locked in this fierce battle that neither is really giving any ground on. Beneath the covers, a young boy is fast asleep. Leo, you wake up with a start when you hear your mother yell, "Leopold! Come on downstairs! It's almost time!"
What? I'm already up! It's fine! And he scrambles together and tries to pretend like he had already been awake.
Yeah, so it is 9:15 as you check the clock in the corner of the room, which is not great because that gives you about 45 minutes to really get everything together before your mother wanted to leave to head for the train station. Today is September 1st, and it is time to go to Hogwarts for the first time.
Oh, man. I'm excited, but also freaked out and ashamed that I haven't finished packing. I run over to my trunk that has kind of been left open, dump a laundry basket and some books and stuff in it and shove it and get it to close, and run downstairs to pretend as best I can that I was prepared.
Yeah, so as you open your bedroom door, you poke your head out and don't see your mother, but you do see a vast winding hallway to your right. The first dozen doors on each side are visible to you before the hallway bends to the left. Conveniently, though, your room is actually right next to the stairway, so it only takes you a second to turn the corner and run down the stairs. As you get to the bottom, you see your mother standing in the threshold of the kitchen, and she's pointing at her finger at you. And she says, "Leopold, didn't I tell you to pack the night before? We don't have much time."
Can you call me Leo, please? I'm sorry. I'm packed. I'm fine. I definitely packed beforehand. It's fine.
She gives you very much a warning look. So Leo's mother, Mrs. Evelyn Featherwick, is a short woman. She's got a long pointed face and very sharp features. At the moment, she's dressed up in muggle clothing. She's wearing these very elaborate, large, hoopy earrings, though. They're the only really magical thing she's wearing at the moment. Upon closer inspection on them, they almost look like they contain the entire solar system. So you see like the Earth and Mars, and the sun is in the center, and they're all rotating around in a very accurate representation of what our solar system looks like. But she turns towards you, and she really kind of starts in on you and says, "Leo, are you really all packed? Do you have everything that you need?"
Yes, I think so. Sorry, Mother. I think I'm all set. I think I'm ready.
And at that, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a wand. It's a vine wand. It's 10 inches long, surprisingly swishy, and has a phoenix feather core. And she hands it to you and says, "Now, Leopold, you can't forget that. It's very important that you hold onto your wand."
Of course, yes. I was just about to go look for it. Thank you for grabbing that for me.
She kind of shakes her head and doesn't really have a whole lot to say to that. So at that moment, your sister walks in and she says, "Mom, can we go now?" And your mother replies, Yeah, of course, dear. Your brother is finally ready. Let's go." And with that, she grabs your hands, turns on the spot, and with a sudden squeeze and a pop, you find yourself in a dark, dusty room. Your mother lets go of your hands and says, "All right, now, come on." And she walks towards a door that she opens, and you find yourself in a train station. You are in King's Cross Station, and it's packed. There's a ton of muggles all moving all about. No one's really noticed you, but your mother looks at the two of you and says, "All right, now, dears, I'm going to go get a pair of trolleys. I'll be right back. Wait right here."
Why do we have to come in through the janitor's?
Your sister looks at you and she says, "Leo, I've told you this. The muggles here, they don't understand."
Obviously, I know that, Ella. You don't have to be mean.
And Suddenly from the corner of your eye, you spot another young person who is really struggling, pulling along a large, much shabbier trunk than the ones that you and your sister have brought with you. And you actually recognize him. You see Caleb, and he really seems like he's having a hard time pulling his trunk along, just kind of dragging it along the ground.
There's a bunch of books that are belted together and kind of like just tied to the top of the chest. And also on top of it is an open, like, bird cage, but it's got a black cat missing patches of hair on it, who looks thoroughly nonplussed about the current trip along the stone pavement.
What's the cat doing?
It's a magical cat, and it has the sense not to make a scene, but it is just glaring at Caleb, who's saying stuff like, oh, I know. No, but,
Hi, Caleb! And I run over and I greet him, and I don't think I realize right away that he's struggling. I just, like, stand there and, like, excitedly talking to him, not helping him at all.
Caleb turns around, and at first his eyes have this look of terror, but then when he sees that it's Leo, they light up, and he says, Leo! Wow, I'm so glad to see you. I didn't know where I was going. It says 9 3/4 on my ticket.
As you start speaking, Leo's mother walks over to the two of you and says, "Oh, Leo, you made a friend."
I already knew Leo from Mrs. Ashglen's. And Caleb looks down at the ground.
Oh, well, that's all right, dear. And she kind of like puts her hand on your shoulder. But, today's the first day of school, right? Is this your first day at Hogwarts?
Yeah, and no one told me how to get there. It says 9 3/4 on this ticket, but that's...
Oh, of course, dear. Don't worry. Just trust me. It'll be fine. Don't even worry for a second. Do you see the barrier there, right between platforms 9 and 10?
Caleb nods.
Basically, you just run through the barrier.
Right. Wizards, then. Oh, and then with that, Caleb nods. He accepts this as probably being true, and he's just gonna determinedly book it as fast as he can towards that seemingly solid wall.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, so she's like, "Oh, wait, no, hold." But you've already started running. So, why don't you roll struggle?
That's a 5 -1.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to say that you are going to crash because you actually crash into someone before you make it to the barrier. And that someone is like a train conductor, and he looks very unhappy with you. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Kid's out of control." He looks at Mrs. Featherwick and he says, "Take control of your children, woman." And she kind of gives him a dirty look because she's not pleased with the way that this man is talking to her. But she helps Caleb up and dusts him off and says, "Dear, I think your enthusiasm was good, but you might want to look both ways next time before you run through a crowded train station."
Oh, yeah, Caleb says and nods, embarrassed, but he's just ready to get away from all these people here. He really doesn't like being out in this crowd.
I think at this point, Leo, just like without any awareness of the volume of his voice, is just, "Mom, he did magic one time. It was amazing."
Oh, I've done loads of magic, Caleb says, getting really excited, his eyes twinkling.
So your older sister, Leo, your older sister Ella looks at both of you and says, "You're so dumb, both of you. Shut up."
What's wrong?
Ugh. And with that, she pushes her trolley forward and steps through the barrier and vanishes out of view.
It's not like people can't just see us running through a wall right now.
Wow, she was really good at that.
Honey, why don't you go next? And she looks at Leo.
Caleb, are you sure you don't want to go next?
I mean, I want to get out of here. Maybe we could go together?
All right,
I look up at Leo's mom as, like, wondering if that's okay.
She nods knowingly.
All right, on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
As you pass through the barrier, suddenly your senses are totally overwhelmed. You find yourselves suddenly popping into existence on another train platform. Here, young witches and wizards are hugging their families. Younger siblings are chasing each other in circles. Directly in front of you, however, is the train, a black and red behemoth belching steam into the air. The name Hogwarts Express is emblazoned on the front. Nearby, there's actually another pair of future Hogwarts students that are saying goodbye to their family. Allison and Skyler, what are you doing to say goodbye to your parents?
So Allison hugs her muggle father first. He's like, I love you. And Allison's like, I love you too. And then Allison goes to hug her wizard dad, and he's like, oh yes, I love you. Oh, I got this thing for you. And he pulls out like a poorly wrapped book. And Allison just says like, thanks.
So, Skylar, what about you? How are you saying goodbye to your adopted parents?
Yeah. Skylar hugs their muggle father around the chest. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for everything. And don't worry, I'll take care of Allison. And then hugs...
He definitely gets a little chuckle out of that.
Yeah. Then hugs their wizard father around the chest as well. You can see him kind of passing Skylar a bag of Choco Balls. Ah, yes. Thanks, Dad. And Skylar's gonna happily skip next to Allison and pocket the Choco Balls after grabbing one out of the bag and stuffing it in their mouth. All right, let's get some good sheets.
You wave goodbye to your parents, and you start to make your move towards the train. As you're about to step onto the train, you see two young boys, sort of step into your way. One of them is short. He's got red hair, kind of a squished face, and he's wearing a sideways cap. And then the other one is much taller. He's got short black hair, kind of wide set eyes, and he's wearing a Quidditch pullover that says Puddlemere United on it. And the taller one says, "Hey, what's that?" And he points to Allison's face.
Nothing.
No, you got like something on your nose. And he reaches forward and flicks her nose.
Hey, oi, get off of me.
What are you gonna do about it?
He's like flustered. She's like, leave me alone.
Kind of like folds his arms, like, whatever, man. What are you gonna do about it?
What do you want us to do about it?
He is very surprised at that question because functionally he's not capable of answering it.
Yeah, Skylar laughs.
Yeah, the shorter one's like, shut up.
Allison like grabs her trunk and her book and her bird cage and just tries to push past them.
Yeah, why don't you roll struggle?
Skylar calls out, be careful, she likes getting tickles, so if you tickle her, if you touch her, she'll like it.
Skylar! I rolled a 6 - 2 for a 4 on my struggle.
So that is a failure. The taller one is just gonna push you, and you're gonna fall to the ground, like onto your butt.
Hey, are you okay, Allison? I pull you back up.
The two boys are just like laughing at you at this point.
Let's just go in through another door. These guys are not having a good day.
So, by the way, you failed that roll. So make sure you mark a point of experience.
Experience point noted.
So, is this like a first year ritual thing? Do we have to like do something or pay a tax to the trolls?
No, we just think you guys are nerds.
Well, maybe we are. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it is a bad thing.
Come on.
Nerds are like the
come on,
worst thing you
Skylar.
can be.
I don't know.
Ugh.
I think maybe dead is the worst thing you can be. Skylar, I like to say Skylar is very honest.
Come on, Skylar. Let's just find a different car.
Yeah, no, the two of these guys, they're just like, you guys are weird. And then just they like take off down the platform to go harass somebody else.
Gosh, I really hope that this school isn't filled with those kind of guys.
Yeah, I'm used to him though.
How's your butt?
It's fine. Thanks.
Do you want a choco ball?
Yeah, I'll take a choco bar.
Here you go. I pop one in my mouth as well.
Let's find an empty compartment.
Yeah, sounds good.
Freya, how long have you been sitting on the train?
I would say about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm quite comfortable.
What are you doing all by yourself?
I have my cat in my lap, and I'm just stroking it while I watch families outside say goodbye to each other.
You're people watching.
I am people watching. Me and my cat are people watching.
What's your cat's name?
Stella. It is a giant, I don't know if you know how big like Maine Coons can get. They're like child size. They're really big cats.
Human child.
Yes.
Like toddler
like
size?
toddler size sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
they're big cats. They're really big cats. And it's a gray cat with like a white, splotchy face patterns.
Is it a happy cat or is it like a grumpy cat?
I would say a grumpy cat. She's pretty grumpy.
Yeah, so as you are sitting on the train, you actually notice the commotion going on between the two boys, Skylar and Allison. You see them there, and it seems like there's going to be a little bit of a fight, and then it kind of dissipates.
That makes me really mad. I get up and stick my head outside of the compartment. So I motion to the two of them to come to my compartment, my empty compartment, to share it with me.
Oh man, do you see that, Allison? Why does that person look so familiar?
Did we go to school with them?
Oh my gosh, it's Freya! It's Freya! Skylar kind of spits out a little bit of chocolate. Come on, let's go say hi.
So we're still dragging all of our trunks with us, and we're sort of tripping over each other as we are trying to navigate both trunks and both owls down the narrow corridor towards Freya's compartment.
I saw what just happened there. Are you guys okay?
Oh yeah, we went to public school.
What does that mean?
It's school for muggles, and it's the worst. I do not recommend.
Huh. Muggle school. You'll have to tell me about it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. It's been so long. How have you been?
Yeah, I didn't recognize you guys at first. I've been good.
I can't believe it. I'm so glad that you found us. We're going to Hogwarts together, you guys. This is awesome. I wonder if, who else was there?
There was two boys, weren't there?
Caleb. Who's the other boy?
Oh, Leo. He snored a lot.
I wonder if they're going to be here too.
Just as you guys are having this conversation, suddenly the compartment door opens back up again, and there's Caleb and Leo.
No way. You guys. We were just talking about you.
It's you guys! Hi, guys.
Oh no, he doesn't remember their names.
That is on par for his character though.
Yeah.
Leo, remember Allison, Skylar? Skylar's pointing to everyone. And Freya.
Uh-huh.
And
How
Caleb!
you guys doing? It's been a long time.
Skylar goes to hug Caleb.
Caleb kind of screams a little bit, but accepts the hug.
Caleb, you want a choco ball? And I pull out the bag, like, in secret.
What?
A choco ball, Caleb. They're delicious.
Choco ball.
I take one out of the bag and I put it in his hand.
It starts melting. He says, "Thanks."
Oh, they're already kind of little melted.
I guess he'll smush it into his mouth.
They're so good, right? Any chance Skylar can have to eat more chocolate and share it with others. Sit with us, you guys.
Yeah, join us. Freya's gonna help all of them with their stuff since all of her belongings are already stowed away.
Thanks, Freya.
Allison's gonna put all of her stuff away, her trunk and her owl, and sit down with the package that her wizard father gave her.
Skylar plops down next to Allison. What you got?
I don't know. So then Allison takes off the like poorly wrapped package and like looks at it. A book? He gave me the Encyclopedia of Toadstools?
Cool.
Sounds interesting.
I guess.
Books are great. I wasn't able to get all of my school books, but I got most of them, Caleb says, patting the books on top of his trunk. I've been looking through the Book of Spells. I'm so excited to learn magic.
Yeah. I don't know if this book's gonna be as helpful, Allison says.
Yeah,
I
how
mean,
many
you
things
never
could
know.
they write about toadstools? Like a whole book? Really?
Apparently. Oh. Allison then puts the book into her trunk.
Are you guys excited about Hogwarts? I've heard so much about it from my parents.
Oh, I haven't heard anything. Tell me all about it.
Well, we get sorted into houses. And I guess it's based off our personality?
What are the houses?
Skylar punches the air with their hand at every house that they say. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin!
Yeah, those are the houses.
Our dad was a Hufflepuff.
Your dad? Like both of your dad?
Yeah, so you guys were all there. So the accident that happened, you guys were all there for the funeral.
Skylar came to live with me and my dad. My dad's...
Yeah, they're my adoptive family now.
Yeah. But our dad didn't talk too much about Hogwarts. I know he was a Hufflepuff, so I guess I'll be a puff too.
I'll probably be a Slytherin. My entire family is Slytherins.
Like Leo zoned out and wasn't listening to any of that important stuff, and he's like, I sure hope we're all Gryffindors.
Gryffindors?
Are Gryffindors good?
I think all of the houses are pretty good. But my family seems to think that Slytherin is better.
What makes them better?
Honestly, I don't know.
It sounds like they just think they're better.
Caleb, what have you been up to? It's been so long.
Oh, Caleb looks down at the ground. I guess you're gonna find out about it anyway, he says. I've been moving around a lot. My mom split with my dad when he got arrested by the ministry.
Arrested by the ministry? What did your dad do?
He was just involved with some bad people. They didn't even tell me what he was charged with. I haven't been able to talk to anyone from the ministry, but I believe him, you know? He's never that nice to me.
I'm sorry, Caleb.
Yeah, well, now I'm at Hogwarts, so it's all fine now. Anyhow, what have you been up to, Freya?
Reading a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, I really enjoy reading books. I'm mostly avoiding my parents these days. They keep trying to set me up with a future husband. And
What?
I don't even like boys.
Oh,
Oh.
man.
You're 11.
It's okay if you're gay.
I don't know about that either, but it just seems so early to think about marriage at this point. But I guess that's what happened with them with their families.
I mean, they used to do that with royalty. Are you royalty?
No. I mean, we're well off, I think. But I'm not royalty. There's no way I'm royalty.
Well, that's good. You won't have to, like, marry your cousin.
Suddenly, you hear the train engine start to chug a little bit, and then with a lurch, the train starts moving forward, and the 5 of you are off on your journey to Hogwarts.